I'm talking about having her. Having her. I'm talking about having her. Having her. I'm talking about her.
We are back.
Better than ever.
I'm Elizabeth Her.
You're Elizabeth Her? Amina Her?
And we're the Her and Her podcast.
Don't confuse the first two. Hey, you lied to me.
Okay, I'm Mina Her.
And I'm Lizzie Her.
And we are the
Her and Her
podcast.
Show. Yes. If you've been listening to us in our almost 50 episodes, you would already know who we are. You feel me?
Feel you.
Mm-hmm. So, Amina.
So, per usual, I have to remind my wonderful, beautiful audience of a couple things that are very important to your host here and to you in order for us to keep this going. So, I would like you to...
Okay, cut it out.
No, that was my sound effect.
Oh!
That was like a drum roll. It was a drum roll. I would like you to... Yes. Make sure that you're following us on Instagram at Her and Her Podcast. Following us on SoundCloud at Her and Her Podcast. And when you follow us on SoundCloud, you'll get notifications of the new tracks. Make sure that you're reposting the tracks, you're loving them, you're liking them, you're commenting, you're reposting them. And then you can also catch us on the iTunes podcast platform, which is on your iPhone already. It's a little purple icon with a little white symbol on it. And you can subscribe to the podcast. That way you'll get updates and it will keep you notified when there's a new episode and new content.
Bam. We don't mean to ostracize the Android people,
Well, soon. We got something for them soon.
Yeah, but I don't know nothing about nobody's Google Play, but find somebody who just download SoundCloud, and that works for everybody. Doesn't matter what phone you have, But we're just Apple people. And so we just cater to the Apple people.
No shade, no tea.
No, no shade, nothing wrong with the, you send a long text message, it sends it back in 7 messages like this is 1900s. It's okay, you can still listen to the podcast. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But anyway, okay, so today we had one of our faithful male listeners sent us a couple questions and things that he really wanted to know more about. And I was like, well, if one man wants to know, all men want to know.
Wait. Yes. And from this person, you must do the same thing for us that you do for... Well, you must do the same thing for him that you do for us when you follow us.
Yeah.
You have to follow him. I believe his social media is at Yashar G. YASHARG.
Yes.
His music is like super dope.
He is.
He's super dope. So yeah.
And we love you.
We love you. Thanks for the topic.
Yeah. So we had to, this is our first episode live. And we had to tell him we love him in a very special way because he is a faithful listener. So we decided to use his questions as our subject for this episode. It's going to be when most men cheat, it's instinct. But when women cheat, it's emotional. And how do we feel about that? Do we agree? Do we disagree? Have we ever been in a situation where we felt like it was imbalanced? And why do we think it's harder for a man to forgive a woman when she cheats and vice versa? Which, I think that's one of those things where you're never really gonna find a real rooted answer. I think it's per situation, But I think it's one of those things that's just gonna die with time. It's just never gonna go away. I just think that's how we're built. But before we get into that, we're definitely going to have her question of the week, her story, and of course, her quote by Yellow Yam.
Hi, I'm Yellow Yam.
So yes, that is our roundup. And we're going to kick it off with, when most men cheat, it's instinct. And when women cheat, it's off of emotion. Do we agree?
No.
You had to take a moment.
Yes, I agree, but I disagree because I feel like when I hear like a man cheats, it was his instinctive nature. It's like, so you're making excuses? So you telling me Like, because you were bred to be a hunter, you're always hunting even after you found your catch.
Yep.
So you're never satisfied is what you're telling me.
Nope, always hungry.
So then go hunt. Don't be in a situation where you're gonna cheat. I understand it because the hunt, the hunter wants to hunt. It makes sense. But at the same time, it's like, if you know that you want to go hunt, go hunt. There's women out there that's like, hey,
ready for it.
Yeah, but don't be with a woman she thinks that she got caught. You got your catch, and we gonna sit down and enjoy each other. And then you out there still looking for something else to catch. Unless she likes to go catch stuff with you, then that's different.
Different story.
It's different.
Whole nother show.
I think you have to be very, very aware of what it is you're capable of doing. It's shaky for commitment. Maybe you shouldn't be getting into a situation.
Yeah.
Because I do agree what he's saying. I agree with that. I do agree because women, you're lacking something when you cheat. You felt neglected. The other man made you feel beautiful. He doesn't put you down. You feel empowered. All of these things. Maybe he let you do some weird shit in the bedroom and it made you feel emotionally strong. I don't know. There's a multitude of combinations and reasons why.
Yep, sure is. But that's why I said I feel like it's one of those things where regardless of how time moves and changes, I think it's just embedded in our DNA, just who we are as men and women. And I think what differentiates is your tolerance level. So, and your commitment, your understanding of what commitment means to you and your union. Because I've seen men forgive and move on multiple times in a relationship that I know that if that was a different man, it would have been a wrap for her.
Right.
So I think we all have a different level and understanding of hard times, of what it means to really love someone and be there. I mean, of course, I can keep going on into why you accept that is because you're lacking other things, but we'll move on.
You stay on the base.
Yes.
The base level. Stay in the lobby.
For at least right now. But, so yeah, that's why I said I feel like it is a very per situation thing because, I know that in my past relationships, I think I tested the waters because I knew I could. I never tested waters where I knew the repercussions and the consequences were going to be unforgivable. So I think sometimes we move according to the subconscious of how we feel about our partner. If you think that she's never going to leave you, this is it. I've made her the woman she is, regardless if she finds out tomorrow, she's going to get over it. You're going to be more likely to test those waters because you feel like she's not going anywhere. Now, you should never feel that about any human being because everyone has a tolerance level. Some people is high, some people's low. You don't know. But I feel like you okay, when it comes to men and instinctual behavior, there's some level of an attraction there. There's some allure, there's fantasy, there's something of that nature. When a woman actually sexually commits to another man, she has already been cheating on you a long time ago in her head. Mm-hmm. They've been texting, there was
an emotional buildup.
Absolutely.
Always, yeah.
I'm not saying some women just don't pick themselves up, tap a dude on the shoulder and say, hey, let's go and do it.
I've seen that.
Right, but most of the time,
most normal women.
Well, most of the time, there's buildup there. She has a true attraction to him. More than likely, if a woman cheats on you, she's probably going to leave you. Mm-hmm. That's her intent. She hasn't really figured out the move she wants to make, but
that's just like when women pack up, and they leave their entire family for a new man to build a new family. That's deep. That's deep.
For a woman, hell yeah.
That's deep.
For a woman, definitely.
She is emotionally. There was no availability for that first situation, like none.
But you always have to ask, what happened in that situation? Like, what happened in that relationship? What was lacking? You know, where was the communication? Where was the trust? Where was the respect? Because I feel like most women who cheat on someone that they're committed to, there's a lack of respect there. Or they feel like their partner isn't fulfilling a role that their partner probably has no idea that exists. So most of the time it's those things, and then not communicating what you want, because women we're very poor in that area. Like we think men are supposed to just read our minds. They're supposed to pay attention to the things we do and don't do. That does not happen until deep connection. That means you've been through some shit. You've been together for several years. Like, those things does not happen for a very long time. So for the first 5 to 10 years, you're still going to be trying to figure that out. Now, women figure it out faster, because I just think we're that nurturing part of who we are.
That's like our mission.
Yes.
Like, what do you like? What are the things that...
Because we always want to make you happy. We're always going to try to figure that out. You know, part of our purpose here is, I feel like that whole concept of mother nature, like, we are the mothers that nurture, you know, so.
You know, also, like, this is on the subject, but not really. But, like, even, like, as a woman, when you're trying to fulfill that role and, like, you get turned down, or not even turned down, but like somebody tells you, like, okay, somebody asked me to do something for them, a guy, and I did it, and that wasn't what you were looking for. So you told me your reaction was, well, you just put whatever, you just did whatever, and in my head I'm like,
oh, unappreciative of the task that was
right, because you weren't clear as to what you wanted, so I wasn't able to fulfill it.
To your expectations.
But I did it to the best of my ability, and now you make me feel like shit,
right?
Because it's not good enough for you.
But you, and women are always going to be in this situation, because men also feel like you're supposed to read their mind as well, but but their mind's never made up. So even if you had the capability of reading their mind, you'd get nothing, because they still don't know. They want you to just pull it from the sky.
You're a woman, you're all knowing.
Yeah. Which thank you. I appreciate that. That's a compliment. But it also needs to be realistic and make sense. But I always feel like if you ask somebody to do something and you didn't like it, then you should have done it yourself.
Yeah. But men feel like they feel like they delegate and they tell you what they want, or they don't tell you what they want, but they think you know. And I feel like that reigns true in, like, all parts of the relationship. Like, you have to be vocal. Like, you have to say, like, what you want from what you don't want, whether it's emotionally, physically, because then you come to cheating.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, not every situation, not every person, of course, is the same. Everyone doesn't have the same sexual desires, but there has to be a common ground there, you know? Like, if your man keeps asking you for a threesome and you're not comfortable with that at all, you need to let him know that. Don't ask me. It's not happening. Take it off the table. If that's something you need, let's call this quits right now and have a nice day.
Because don't close your eyes and just do it.
Right.
You're going to hate yourself in the morning.
You're going to regret. You're going to have regret. Yeah, and resentment. Absolutely. And then constantly feel like you're not enough. It's going to become deep-rooted and deep-seated to a point where it's going to eat away at your marriage or your relationship. So you're better off at just being completely honest. And if you are open to it, just say, I'm open to it, but I'm not quite there yet. You know, at some point I will definitely think I can get there, but right now I'm just not, you know.
I think that's another thing. Like, for women, we have, like, this thing in our head, like, if a man tells you he's not ready for something or he doesn't want something, we have, like, this thing in us that feels like it's going to change. Men, it's like definitive for them.
Cut and
like,
dry.
you tell them, I don't want a threesome today. She said she's never gonna have a threesome. And that's what I want. So I guess I gotta go find it somewhere else.
Definitely. And I that's just who I am as a person, though. Like, if I say something today to you, like, I don't really like going outside when it rains, and then you come over and it rains and we go outside, and you told me, girl, I thought you said you never go outside. There's circumstances. Maybe we really need something outside and we gotta go, or my dog really gotta use the bathroom.
But you're not hyped to go outside. No, that's just what it is.
Right, but you gotta. So that to me just makes me think of men when they think like absolutely it's never gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
And like there's no instances or experiences or situations that come that could potentially change the dynamic. You know, just the way in which you view that or would have to. You
There's
know?
always a loophole.
Yeah,
For
absolutely.
everything.
Absolutely. But I think men are more concrete.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think how they think, because they're more analytical. You know, we move with more passion and emotion. They move with more logic
And stupid.
Oh, you dumb. So I think that we think so differently. But when it works really, really well. Like,
Yeah.
if you hone in on what you're good at and he hones in on what he's good at, I mean, it's magic.
And worry about taking care of one another.
Yes.
Like caring for you. Worry about him, he worries
It's about
about you. And everybody's taken care of.
You know, I forgot what show I was watching.
Creflo Dollar.
It was Creflo?
It was Creflo Dollar. We watched it together.
Oh, I keep thinking it's TD Jakes.
No,
because
no,
I really
no.
prefer to give him the credit. But
No.
anyway, moving on.
Brother Creflo.
And when he said that to me, I was like, wow. I think my mind shifted that day. But basically, that's what he was saying. Like, he was like, when you're in a relationship and you're trying to, like, fight, like, I need this. And he's saying, I need this and I need this. If you work on what each other wants, like I'm working on what he wants to fulfill his needs and wants, and he works on, so you're making each other so happy, you're going to be fulfilled.
Right.
There's no way
Anybody's gonna
right.
feel unfulfilled.
No, there's no void at that
We
point.
worried about each other. We're taking care of each other.
Absolutely.
We're like, we're
If-
there.
If you know I like to hold hand, walk in the park, and eat candlelight dinners, and you make sure that happens once a month, and I know you like a home-cooked meal, you like to watch movies, you like to make sure, you know, things is together, and I make sure those things are done, I don't see any unhappy people here.
Yeah.
You know? But we're too worried about I, me, and you're wrapped up in your emotions, and you can't see clearly through the end of the tunnel. And then you have unhappy people that end up, you know, going outside at the bar, tapping people on the shoulder, trying to get with them.
Then you set the whole tunnel on fire.
It's in a blaze. So, okay, let's move on to the next question. Why do we think, I think we kind of answered this too, right? Why do we think it's harder for a man to take a woman back? No, it's a little bit more specific.
Mm-hmm.
So why do we think it's harder for a man to take a woman back after cheating versus a woman taking a man back?
Okay. So, men are territorial. Women are territorial as well, but men are territorial. So anytime a man feels like he's stepping on his turf and what's his, it's like, you fucking with my shit. You fucked with my shit, you tainted it, like, now what I'm supposed to do? Now how? And I think men I think men also understand that women are emotion driven, and they know that, like, oh wow, she really went that far. Like, oh, so you really went that far. Like, oh, so you sucked another nigga's dick. Like that. Like, you know? Like,
Shame.
yeah. Like, you laughed at another man's joke. So, like, a guy texted me one time, he's like, would you ever laugh at another guy's joke? And I was like, why are you asking me this? He said, you laugh at his joke, you might as well have gave him head.
Oh my Lord.
It's that
He's
deep.
so sensitive.
Yeah.
I laugh at everybody's jokes.
I'm done. No, but I definitely feel like...
I must be sucking a lot of dick out there.
Yo!
I like to laugh. The joke is funny, I'm laughing. I'm not on his lap caressing his head. I mean...
That's how it feels to them. It's on you. That's the territory.
No, but then, when they're laughing at a joke, laughing at a girl's joke, they halfway up her ass.
Yeah, hand and all. But yeah, I feel like they are aware that in those kind of situations that we're emotion driven, and they know, like, damn, you went far. Like, that's far. And I think and men are more emotional than we are. So it's like, they're so in their emotions, but they act like they're not. But they're in their emotions to a point where, like, damn, you really did that. You really, like, embarrassed me.
Yep.
You really, like, you betrayed me. You went somewhere else to get what I could have gave you. Now he's feeling inadequate about his penis. He's feeling inadequate about the way he loves you.
Everything.
His $2 flowers he gave you, you feel like it's not good enough. Somebody gave you them roses that never die. You know, like, all of these things. But women, I feel like women wouldn't be so accepting of a cheating man if it weren't for our societal views. because I feel like society and the way in which we watch people in relationships has made it acceptable to take a man back after he cheats. Like, I don't think women are thinking on their own, like, I don't have to take you back. There could be another man out there, like, we're thinking like, is it really that bad? All the time. Can I forgive you? Like, how far did it go? Why is that a question? If it's not your husband or like somebody you're really progressively like moving in a great direction with and they made a mistake, all right, we can talk about it. Like, definitely go for it if that's truly what's in your heart. But if in your heart of hearts you're asking yourself questions that you know are crazy, I feel like, no. You're just accepting it. You feel like it's okay. You feel like it's okay. Nobody is thinking of the fact that maybe it's not okay that you cheated on me. Maybe I am going to walk away after the first time. Maybe I don't have to wait for the fourth girl, the fourth incident, or the whole relationship, or the baby that you had.
I think because we think about history. We think about the time, the work, the efforts, the years, the pain, the tears, the laughs, the you know, the happy, the sad, the pictures that we took when we were in Cancun together on the beach.
The vulnerability, sister, the vulnerability.
And I think that's what we think about. I think we think about losing all of that.
Yeah.
And having to rebuild that with another person is as detrimental as walking away. So,
I feel like a death.
Yeah, absolutely. And we mourn for real. You know, it's not going to be okay, you know, he cheated and we mourn. You still love that person.
Unless you got a zombie that keeps coming back to life. Will not die.
Girls, I hope you're not out here falling in love with zombies. Okay. And if you are, walk fast. Because they can't walk fast. Walk fast. But on a serious note, I think I agree with you in terms of societal views, of course. You've seen your mother do it, you've seen your grandmother do it, you've seen your great-grandmother do it, you see it on TV, and what society leads you to believe is that you're strong if you do it. That, you know, a powerful, strong woman can take a man back and build a successful marriage and relationship, and you're weak if you walk away because, you know, only weak women wouldn't be able to handle the conflict and the stress and the chaos that comes with when you cheat. Which I agree and disagree with. I agree in terms of not weak. I don't agree with her being weak if she walks away, but I do agree that it takes even more power to stay. But you as a woman have to determine the man that you're with. You have to determine if this makes sense for you, your future, and if you have children. And I think that's the core of what it is. Not, don't go on anything else. You can't ask a girlfriend. You can't ask your mother. Everyone's going to have a biased view.
It's you and God.
Yes. And that's the only person who you need to sit down with, kneel down, pray, write a letter, meditate, light your candle. And that's the only way that I think you can come to an answer. You have to figure out is your risk and your loss versus what's the word I'm looking for? Is it going to be more beneficial for you to stay with him than to walk away? And that's ultimately what you have to ask yourself. And did this situation destroy a layer of who you are that you're now going to have to rebuild? And how deep is it? And can that person help you heal? Are they going to genuinely...
Are they willing?
Yeah, willing to be an equal participant to get us even better than where we were before. Surmountable.
I have a question. So, like, I've seen situations where women have had things like memories and children and a life with someone, but they didn't allow that to be, like, the reason why they decided to stay, but it was more of a crutch.
Okay.
A crutch, you know? So it was like, but we have this. You're not thinking about
The impact.
Yeah, or we're already operating, we already co-parent in our own right. Like, so it's not going to affect my children in a negative way, or like,
Okay.
you know, you're just using it as, girl, but we have kids together. Girl, but we have this. Girl, but we went to Cancun together. Girl, but we've been together for so long, you know? And maybe that's a younger thing, like within my generation more so. Like, no? Okay.
No, baby.
Well,
no.
because I know it's happened more with my, like, younger friends.
I know friends' parents. I know, and that's a whole nother generation than us. To be honest with you, I think 50-50 on our generation. I think more women are feeling empowered to just know that that's not something you need to accept, or it's not a level of success. And then I think, you know, of course, the other half is, you know, you're culturally bound to feeling like you're a superwoman if you can overcome that.
Right.
So I think it's 50-50. I mean, I've seen older women who I believe that should know way better and will take a man back and keep it moving. I know in my culture that me and my friends would laugh about it all the time. Like, our parents would never get divorced, but they would live separate lives in the house.
That's a Caribbean
like
thing.
They mastered how to co-parent and still do their own thing.
Separate bedrooms.
Yeah, live upstairs, live downstairs, like still pay bills together, still go to functions together, and function like a family.
They're miserable.
But they're miserable. I've even seen ones that aren't miserable per se. Like when you see them, they function normally. You know what I mean? But it's like, are you gonna marry? Like, are you gonna actually entertain another woman? Are you gonna entertain another man? No, because where are you bringing them to?
And I also feel like that is a hindrance to your growth. It's a hindrance to your if you have children watching, that's a hindrance to their growth, your ex's growth. Like, how can we move forward if we're sitting in it? We're sitting.
In the actual shit. Just doing backstrokes in that body like a pig right now. Yeah, I totally agree with that. But, you know, most of them, I feel like most of the marriages that have done that have children. You know, and so they feel like you have to be the sacrificial lamb when it comes to your children, because you want them to have the best possible life ever. You don't want them to be the children of divorced parents and the stigma behind that. And
misery is better than divorce.
Yeah. And I don't know. For me, I always think that if it's that bad, like if you can't even occupy the same space, then what makes you think that you can raise these children under the same roof and still provide them a healthy, balanced life when the two of you cannot even have a conversation? And I think parents who do those things or occupy that way feel like children are stupid. Like they don't have like you doing this behind some like brick wall that no one can see, and you're doing all these things like they have blindfolds on and they can't see. Like, I think even babies feel it. Like, if there's any discord, that's all energy. I can hide it, I can pretend that it doesn't happen, but you're going to see it. As your children grow, they're going to see it. So it's like, how long are you going to live a facade and a lie? And then you don't realize that those emotions start to build inside of you and create disease.
And you need a soul clearing. Couple of them. That's
another episode. But yeah, and then you don't realize how much hurt it has done to you. And I think sometimes some mothers carry some level of not only resentment towards their partner, but to their children. Like, if I didn't have you, I wouldn't have had to deal with this. If I didn't have you, I could have walked away, or I could have, made a different decision, or I wouldn't have been as stressed out, or why didn't I see it from the first time? Like, someone will look at their children as the reason as why they stayed, or blame them as life goes on and it didn't pan out the way they wanted. But in life, one thing that God has given us is free will and choice and decisions. And even if you have children, you have to do self-preservation, because you're not going to be good to them if you are not good to yourself.
That was our quote.
and that's just what it is. I can't be the superwoman and the best mother of the world if I'm literally living in chaos every day. How can I take care of you? How can I fulfill
I can't
you?
even
Give you everything you need? Right. I'm making food angry. I'm doing your laundry.
Putting that energy into everything. Putting that energy into the food, energy on your clothes. When you spill something, you wondering why, because your mom was tight.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just one of those things that I feel like it's always going to be there. It's never going to go away. But I also think it's per situation. You know, you got to determine what works best for you, what makes sense for you. And I also don't think we're also under the impression that what breaks people up is cheating all the time. People actually do fall out of love with one another. And I think, yes, that stems from like discord and miscommunication and not putting in forth effort anymore, because relationships and marriage is hard. It's probably one of the hardest jobs you'll ever do in your life. Like going to your 9 to 5 or being an entrepreneur is a cakewalk compared to being in a relationship or a marriage, you know? So, yeah, it's not easy. You batting your eyes like you got something to say.
Just listening.
But yeah, we think that we think that cheating is the only thing.
Yeah, I agree. It's not.
And it's not. Like, you could get tired of someone saying the same thing to you over and over again. You know, like, oh, your husband or your wife loses their job or whatever, and they never quite get back on their feet. Like, are you going to be a person to support them through it and figure it out and be, you know what I mean? Or you going to come home every day and bark down their throat about how many resumes they filled? You know what I mean? Like, you got to ask yourself, are you really going to be there through thick and thin? Are you really going to figure it out? Are you going to think outside the box? And also, don't walk down the aisle if you can't imagine yourself with that person having children or living on the street.
Don't be so blinded by the wedding.
That's also, isn't it? We should talk about that. Oh, were you blinded by the wedding?
Was it the ring or was it the love?
I want these 3 carats. Just like we talked about that on the other episode. When the man just came home from jail and she looking for a 2-carat ring. In days.
And the update is she is now paying for that ring on her own.
Of course. And she should be, because that was the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life.
I think that's another thing about like cheating. I'm gonna say this already. I don't know. Like putting things on people that they don't have for themselves, that they don't want for themselves, but they do it because they feel obligated to. Like putting marriage on somebody, but they had no plan for marriage. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
that wasn't in their future.
Yeah. Like you can't make plans and make the shoe fit, and then when the shoe really don't fit later on, you wondering why it's slipping off and it doesn't make sense. Well, because they didn't want to do that from the beginning, and then they felt unfulfilled.
Because did you ever ask him?
Right. And he said, he's like, I feel obligated to do it because she's stuck by me.
No, that is one thing that I never ever want someone to do. Just do something for me or love me or be with me because they feel obligated.
That's the worst. You just cheated on me.
I hate that word. I don't even use it. I don't even say like, oh, I do something for someone because I feel obligated to do it. No, I either do it with my heart, I do it for real, or I don't do it at all. That's it. I'm not. That to me feels like when you use the word obligation, it feels like cause when you know you gotta go to work to pay your bills, like you only go there because you gotta pay your bills. Like I feel like I'm not important. I'm not loved. I'm not like looked at as.
It's just something you have to do. You don't want to.
There's no joy in holding my hand through this journey, you know. And so, for me, I'd rather you not. Just don't. Just say, I just can't do it, or I won't be able to. Because to me, those are clear signs. It's clear as day to me. For me, the people might want to dig through the garbage and figure it out. Not I. But that to me is clear. Like, I can figure out the kind of person you are. I can see if I want to, like, take you on this ride. All the other, I don't want to do it. Yeah. I just don't want to do it. Like, I'm not, like, and I think we take for granted how precious our time is on earth. Like, if I'm going to sit here and dig through the garbage that you're giving me, I could have given all that love to somebody who really wants it, who's really going to give it to me, who's going to reciprocate that, who cares about my well-being, if I'm okay, who loves me truly and for real.
But sometimes we wait for the person we think we chose to appreciate what we are and what we give, and that never happens. And then you're sitting there wondering why you feel unfulfilled and wondering why they didn't accept it the way you wanted them to accept it and reciprocate it the way you wanted it reciprocated. Well, because that wasn't a part of their plan. That's just not the person. Move on and give your love somewhere else. That's very powerful, you know, to realize that you could be giving your time and your love to someone else. Girl, I just had an epiphany. Look at God. Won't he do it?
Yeah. For real, you know, and don't think you know, because you really, really don't. And I tell you this all the time, like, before I met my husband, I knew, like, no, that was the man I was gonna marry. Like, I tell you all the time,
Your
tell
previous
people,
boyfriend.
don't play yourself. Like, no. And I mean, of course, there was things about him that my mother loved him as a person, but there was things about him as a man that she felt uncomfortable with seeing a future, you know, and understandably so. As I stood outside of it, and I went away to school and he didn't, I was able to really see that, you know, and I'm glad that I was eventually open to change and not holding on to something because it has history. And he was always there for me. He was always good to me, as he was a beautiful, wonderful person, but he wasn't for me. And that's another thing. Like, you think because they're all these things, they're for you. You don't know who's until that thing slaps you in the face and you're like, oh, okay. Oh, you open your eyes real quick. You know what I mean? And I think that's another powerful thing. I think I just really thought about something for real just now. Why do you look so wake up? But for real, like,
no, because this is my life right now.
Like, you think in your mind, like, oh, they're everything. Like, he was. I mean, but the things that I felt like he lacked were things that we could figure out and work on.
Yo,
right?
it's
that's what
that's
I felt.
how you feel.
And I'm like, okay, well, if I have to figure it out for the both of us,
Yo.
I'm gonna do it. And I realized that would have been detrimental to the woman I am today.
And you don't realize, like, how much that takes away from your own journey, because you essentially want our journeys to make sense. Not make sense, yeah, because we're supposed to help each other. Like, even if we're trucking it and trying to figure it out, we hand in hand, like, you got your shit over there, got my shit over here, let's, like, you know. But if somebody's not willing and you got to keep stopping to be like, you here today? You want to do this today?
Or dragging.
Right.
I feel like you're dragging,
Right.
So not only are you part of my baggage, but then I'm dragging you, and then you dragging your baggage.
My first ever relationship
My arm hurts.
was like that. I dragged him.
He was like Stone Age, and I'm over there and dragged him back to the game.
Yeah. On my shoulder. And the nigga cheated. So.
You just don't know, and you always have to, like, I tell you, like, self-preservation is real. It is. And I mean, yes, it becomes a little bit more difficult when you get into a really serious relationship, but in time you figure out balance of what works for you and how to communicate that in a way in which another person will respect it. Because no human being is going to respect you or what you do unless you do it. Unless you respect you and respect what you do or what you love or what you're passionate about, it will not read to another person. So they won't respect it. Yeah. And they won't respect you.
And if they don't respect you, there's nothing else to talk about.
For real.
Nothing. Because respect is the foundation. If there's no respect, there's nothing else.
We could talk about this all day.
So what's next for us?
Okay, so do you think that cheating is an unforgivable act? You have to clear your throat. Get it warmed up.
No, I don't think cheating is an unforgivable act, but I also believe that you have to look at the foundation of the two people involved, or however many people involved in the relationship, because if the foundation is already shaky and then somebody cheats on top of it, like, I'm the kind of woman who it's going to bother me. If our foundation is shaky already, it's going to bother me. I'm gonna think like, not that I don't trust you, but now it's in the back of my head. I'm gonna have to pray to God every night to remove those thoughts and those negative ideas from my head. I'm gonna have to pray to God to not make me FBI and put my time into something else. And that's a lot of praying on something negative. I gotta pray all of that. So I need to evaluate if our foundation is strong enough before I decide if cheating is something unforgivable in our relationship. Because I could forgive you, I could, but I gotta know that it's worth me forgiving. It's worth me putting myself through all of these changes I have to work through. Because there's a lot you gotta work through.
A lot is like an understatement, because that thing reaches deep down into your soul.
Yeah, and then now your mistake is now making me question things in me and who I am as a woman and what I offer as a woman and what I offer as a person. And I thought you was my best friend. I thought I was yours. Obviously not. Was you talking to the bitch while you was sleeping with her? Was you cuddling with her? Did you leave right after? Was you texting her all day the same messages?
See, too much.
You see what I'm saying?
Too much.
And now I gotta go to sleep and pray to God to remove all of that.
And guess what? It might not ever go anywhere.
Might not.
You might get better. You might not think about it as intensely. You might not think about it every day. But once a month, it's gonna pop up. And then you're gonna make that angry food.
You out 30 minutes too late.
And you know what's so funny? I have friends that were like, when you brought up the concept of being FBI, looking through stuff. And I had friends who would like go in, like I mean, in the emails, in his phone, like, girl, borderline follow you, like, I mean, would go in. And I'm just like, how do you operate like that on a constant basis? Like, constantly worrying about if you're cheating on me, when, who, like, to the point where I'm like, I'm listening to you and it's making me tired. And I'm like, you put all this energy into finding out if he's cheating, if he's not cheating. And when you find something, because guess what? If you're looking, you're going to find something. You're going to find something. If he's not cheating, you're going to find something. Something is going to make you feel insignificant or feel like, I need to look a little bit more. I need to pay attention. You will find something. No human being is perfect. None. But can things be misconstrued? Of course. You know, can one emoji or another make you feel like, why he sending her kissy faces? Well, it's actually the same thing. If I saw her in person and gave her a hug and a kiss, it's the same thing, right? Now, if he's sending her 8 million of them on the page, that's a different story. But you got to be able to close your eyes. Because honestly, when a man doesn't have has not cheated on you, and you walk into a relationship with all that, crazy, like that, where do you think that eventually is going to lead him? Yeah. Men don't like anything chaotic, convoluted, too much to think about.
Too much dramatic.
No, he's not. He's going to walk away because their brain just doesn't function like that to deal with that they're simple-minded.
One-track minded.
It's very simple. You start adding all kind of shit that ain't got nothing to do with nothing.
Yeah, I don't believe, and I believe that you got to be very, very aware of, like, do I need to sit out of a relationship for a little bit if I have trust issues? Because for me, I don't go into a new situation looking. I don't do that. But if you take me there, then I got to pray to God. But I'm not going to just walk into every new situation like, oh, the last man did me over, did me in, so here I go again. No, like, I feel like if that's the case, that's your thought process, you need to talk to somebody.
I mean, eventually, too, like, even if he does give you a reason, you're going to get over that, too. Because how are you supposed to sit comfortably growing with that person knowing that you just looked at his email?
Yeah.
And then he comes home with a bouquet of flowers.
You like that?
Yeah.
I just saw something in your email. No, I feel, okay, so let me tell you though. I feel like millennial snooping, like young millennial snooping and old millennial snooping is different. Okay? Because the young millennial might end up on, if you did something, I might end up on your Twitter page. I might end up in somebody's comments. I might,
okay, I get what you're saying. I agree but I think there's an end point. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Like,
I don't know. I never went deep. I go deep on like Instagram or like Twitter, but I'm not about to be like.
I think it's just a nosy thing to you guys. Like, just want to know, like, oh, what you doing? What you into? Who you talking to? Not a really like. I mean, like, those things should not be a part of your relationship.
Right.
Like, if you just talking to a guy, you just met him, or you trying to figure out who he is before you meet him, that's a completely different story. We didn't have those things when I was dating.
Right.
So, but I mean, like, you're trusting to be a point at. My husband could post for weeks, days. I don't know. I don't go on there every day to see. Like, I would have to be like, oh, today, let me go.
Right.
And I'm going to like and support and comment.
Yeah, that's the
because
weirdest.
I'm looking for something, or let me see what girl is. That's
So
a
you gotta
mentality.
You gotta be Snoopy.
Yeah,
Just like stealth and not like anything there.
No. You know, I don't like you. It's all about your mindset, and if you're already a woman who thinks like that, just organically, you got to work on that, because that's not going to go over well in a relationship with a man. It's going to push him into another woman who's simple, that he gets along with, that makes him feel like, oh, life is easy and we just moving and shaking. He will leave you for that real quick, because they don't want to deal with it. Ask a man one too many questions in one sitting. Like, there's not even like an issue or a problem, but you just ask him several questions. Like,
uncomfortable.
So imagine you coming in there. I was reading your emails. I saw a girl on Twitter.
But is that what happens though? Is it not like you just keep that for yourself? Like a woman, when she's not keeping that for herself, she's. Oh no. Mm-mm. Yeah, I think I'm just nosy.
She's not keeping it to herself.
I'm just nosy, I guess.
She about to tell you. But the crazy part is, I applaud the woman who says something versus the woman who doesn't, because at least she's communicating. It's not great communication. She needs to work on it. But the woman who's sitting on it, just stacking it up in her subconscious, trying to figure out,
So she finds something, and then she
got a file folder.
I thought we meant like she was just like looking and didn't see anything, and she was just being nosy. And
I'm talking about a woman who's going in. This is what she does. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and she might think it's something. Just, you know, your intent behind something.
But you know, when like when you follow somebody on Instagram and you go on like another page, if they post something, it'll let you know.
Yes.
Yeah. So like, I was on there one day and this.
Wait, you're a subscriber person?
Do I follow this person?
No, you said it'll let you, like, alert you know that they posted something?
No, it lets you know if they commented on somebody else's
page.
Stuff. Like when you go there, you see their comment pop up first.
Yes.
So then I was like on a page and I saw this guy, my fake boyfriend. He tagged a girl and said some shit to her that was like, oh, this is what you're doing? So, and I wasn't looking for it. I just went on the page, like the shade room or something. I screenshot the shit.
This is because you followed him.
Yeah. So I screenshot and I sent it to him. I told him about himself.
And then what happened?
And he called me.
And then what happened?
And we just, was talking. But I was just telling the story.
I can't wait to see you like a real relationship. And not a real like marriage or engagement, but like, you know, the ones that lead up to those, you know, the ones that carry significance in your life, the ones that's going to give you like a real idea of like what it is to be like loved and committed and like enjoy life together. Like, I can't wait to see you in that space. Like, I want to know if these are just characteristics because of the nature of this relationship.
I think so.
Or is it characteristics of just who you are, and like, how is that going to play when you do feel it reciprocated? How's it going to play when you feel comfort and secure? You know, like, how are those things going to play out? And even if you do them, what is your intent behind it now when you don't, you know? Like, just curious about.
We'll see. Keep it posted, people.
We most certainly will. Okay. So our last question before we get to our her story is, how does cheating affect the dynamics of a relationship?
You can go first.
Well, I've never technically, that I'm aware of and know, been cheated on. But I have been a cheater. Shame, shame, shame.
Give the camera the side eye.
And not directly, indirectly, you know? And what I mean by that is, you know how you set up a situation so that you did something, you could be like, nah, but we wasn't together, but you made that happen so that you wouldn't feel guilt about that? Yeah. real strategic.
Yeah,
Real
that's too strategic for me.
Yeah, but I was young, man. I was like 17, 18. That's what you're supposed to do then. Like, you're supposed to do foolishness. That you get it out your system then. Yes, you might have broke some hearts and it wasn't the right thing to do. But so yeah, for me, I really don't know if it changed the dynamics for me, believe it or not. But I don't really know about the other person. At that time, we didn't communicate on that to that level, you know.
Right.
I mean, of course, I knew it hurt because when it kind of came to the surface, now I'm feeling like, no, don't leave me, but technically wasn't together, and da da da, and you're like, you can't break up with somebody 2 minutes today, and then 5 minutes later, you talking to somebody else. That's not how this thing works. It doesn't work like that. But you know, a little young Liz didn't know that. You know, she was just
living
bopping, you know. But so I would say for me, I think later on, like as time passed, that I realized that I didn't love him as much as I thought I did. And that if I did, I wouldn't even have thought of that.
So cheating on brought it to the surface, you would say, more so.
Like, I definitely loved him, don't get me wrong, but it kind of let me know that I couldn't spend the rest of my life with you. I also am a person where, like, if I was the one who cheated, I wouldn't stay with you even if you wanted me to. Because I know what that does to a relationship. It destroys it from the inside out. And it's like a prune. It starts to just, and it's like, it doesn't matter. Like, love is not enough. Yeah, it just isn't. Now, I'm not saying in some instances or circumstances that it can, if you work on it and figure it out. But for me specifically, I just feel like I would walk away. If it was me that did the hurting, I would walk away. Because I've hurt you, you know, and that to me just leads that I have a lot to work on, and I need to go step away from this that requires a lot of my energy and time and go and figure out what's wrong with me. And, you know, me going away to college at the time when I was with him opened up a lot of, like, I learned a lot about myself, you know what I mean? Good, bad, and indifferent. And I just knew that it was best for me to have broken it off when we did, you know? Yeah, and then, like, sometimes I just felt it was definitely one of those situations where, and I believe all women should follow this rule, that a man should love you way more than you love him, and you'll know the difference. And you will know the difference. Because a woman can fall in love with anything. She can fall in love with this chair, this book bag, this apple over here. She can fall in love with anything. She can take care of anything. She can make anything feel loved and fulfilled. That's her job. But for a man, it takes way more.
My grandma always says that.
It takes way more for a man to even match you. So he has to come to the table passing you. Because as time moves on, your love is going to continue to grow.
His is just going to be
Yes. So he has to come to the table head over heels in love with you. Can't imagine himself with anyone else. Doing, you know, romantic things that you can't imagine. He has to come to the table like that. He has to. Because you're always going to be looking for ways to make him a better person, to make this union better. You're never going to stop thinking about that.
It's just in your nature.
Yeah. You know, men at some point need reminding. You know, you got to tap a button, you know, like, hey, baby, we haven't been on a date in a little while. Or, you know, let's do this and this together. It's because they're so, like, geared towards, like, leaving a legacy, making money, let's do this, let's build our family. Like, they're one-track mind. So they forget about everything else. They're like, I got the girl already. I know this is what I want. So let's just do it together and forget about everything else. So you have to make sure that those things are intact. And of course, you can figure it out together, but knowing the dynamics of how that plays in your relationship is major. But yeah, just back to the point, like I said, you have to decide. But I knew for me, I had to walk away. Because I think I destroyed something that was really precious amongst us. And I was just young and just stupid. You know, that's what you do. You know? And for a long time, I regretted it. But then as I got older, I just realized, like, girl, you're going to beat yourself up about what? Like, you can't. You have reconciled yourself, you have forgiven yourself, you have removed the guilt, and now it's time to move on. Like, it's not like you, and I always say to myself, like, those are test relationships. Those are what gets you prepared for if you do want a marriage. Those are the things that lead up to that. If he was supposed to be your husband, he would have.
I never liked tests.
I mean, either girl.
I
ain't trying to learn no lessons.
Take me to where I'm supposed to go.
No, for real. But I think you have to go through them because it makes you so much more appreciative on the other side.
True.
You seen spoiled brat people or people who just have whatever they want. They don't appreciate nothing. Zero. Yeah. But even just kind of off the topic, but just something really simple. I remember like there was this girl I used to talk to, and you know, her family was, you know, they were well off, and I used to always peep something about her bag, and she would have like mad money in her bag, but it would just be everywhere in her bag. And you know, I'd be folding it, putting it in the wallet, make we know how much we got. And I used to always think that was so weird, but I didn't not after I stopped talking to her that I realized, and I was like, you take money for granted because it's never been nothing you had to count or know how much you have or had to realize like what this is or figure it out, or so it's like, oh, I know I can just
pull something out of it. There's always gonna be something there.
Always something gonna be there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And yeah. Okay, so her story. You wanna go first?
I'll go first.
Okay, so her story today is definitely based off of cheating, what women will do, and your story that ties that all in one way or another. You know, and cheating, some people think cheating is kissing.
I know where you're going with this.
Okay, cheating sometimes could be, you know, it depends on the person.
But I know where you're heading with this. You're saying this to me for a reason.
No. I'm just setting, you know, just setting up the preamble. I'm ready for the story.
All right. So one night, I was dating this guy.
I'm talking